Good morning again. Hello. So, really happy and excited to moderate this conversation centered on the theme of community. And I have an amazing panel with me. Adrien Onanessian, CEO and co-founder of Renaissance. Luc Jodet, a dear friend and co-founder at Ariani. Sam from Blackpool, and Vladimir Ustinov, co-founder of the DAO, The Forge. So, I don't want to make the introduction for you guys. I will let you introduce yourselves and tell us and tell the audience who you are, where you come from in a couple of words, and what you do. You want to start, Vlad?
Yeah, sure. So nice to meet you, everyone. My name is Vlad. I'm the founder of The Forge. So The Forge today, it's a Web3 community for Web3 entrepreneurs. So basically people who build stuff in Web3. We have both, like, let's say 75% of entrepreneurs and then 25% of people who want to help entrepreneurs succeed. It's a token-gated community, so it's kind of exclusive. You need an invite to get into to apply, which is an NFT, and then you have a second NFT, which is a lifetime access to the community. And it's international for the moment. We're getting more and more people from other countries, even though it started in France. And that's it, and I broke my arm last week playing football. That's it.
Yeah, I'm from Blackpool. So just briefly, Blackpool is a quantitative hedge fund. So we invest early in yield-bearing NFTs. Julien talked about it a bit earlier this morning. My job with Blackpool is to sort of coordinate what happened in what we call the lab. And in the lab, we dig into all the little aspects of these new NFT projects. So we look into the tokenomics, we'll look into the game design, if it's a game, we'll look into the team itself and the smart contract as well. So we have this whole panel of experts that I'm kind of coordinating to make sure that at the end of the day, when we make a decision, we made a fully educated decision to get the best of our investments. So as Julien said this morning, we have quite a few millions of dollars now of assets under management. And all of these assets that are yield-bearing NFTs are being actively managed by our managers and also subsequently by our scholars. So we have a massive community of players that are playing for you, about 1,000 people that are playing for us with our assets on top of our own managers for a few of those games.
And I'm Luc. I'm the co-founder of Ariani. Pierre-Nicolas did a really good presentation about what Ariani does, but really quickly, we are an end-to-end solution to really create tokens and leverage those tokens for luxury brands. But for the last 6 months, I've actually been focusing on a product called Speakeasy within Ariani. And the reason why we built Speakeasy, which is a token-gated chat platform, is because we've built a lot of tools for luxury brands to actually distribute tokens and then be able to interact, communicate with their customers. And we thought that when we saw really the entire NFT and DeFi wave coming in the last 18 months, we're like, well, we've built all those tools and kind of hidden them behind interfaces that are easy to use for everybody, but why don't we actually just leverage this technology and make it accessible and really a tool that the crypto native community or Web3 community can use. And so that's how Speakeasy started.
Exciting. Hi, I'm Adrian. Thanks for having me. Good to meet you. I created Renaissance, an agency, NFT agency that helps artists, creators, and brands develop NFT project entering the Web3. We have a couple of successful achievements already within the music industry, with Jacques, for example, with Booba, and with some brands like Dom Pérignon. And I think NFT is all about community, so I'm very happy to be here and discuss this subject with you guys. Thanks.
Welcome. So, I'd like to look into kind of the specificities of your communities and maybe start with you, Sam. You have like thousands of scholars. How do you build a community in the gaming world? What is at stake? What have you learned? And what is specific?
Well, there's quite a lot of specificities because there's just as many different gaming communities as there are games. In the case of Blackpool is a bit special. I can say we kind of segmented our gaming communities. We have the scholars. So these guys mostly come from Web2. They're not necessarily going to have a large education in Web3. They're coming for the play-to-earn aspect. In those play-to-earn, there is a large barrier to entry. And this is the main hurdle for those new players. Because I'm a firm believer as well that gaming is going to help onboard a lot of people into Web3, into cryptocurrencies and so on. So this is sort of one of the aspects of the gaming communities. They're being sort of attracted towards these gaming for the play-to-earn aspects. And Blackpool here is here to help removing the hurdles for these aspects of the community. But another community that that we do have as part of Blackpool, and I think it's the same one that we see in all the different games, is that those are in a hybrid position between a investor and a gamer. So basically, they're gonna spot a game, they're gonna see the potential in it, and they're gonna be a part of the development of the game. They're gonna invest early, they're gonna purchase some NFTs, they're gonna purchase some land, some parcels on the metaverse and so on, because they believe in the game. And from an investor point of view, but also from a gamer point of view. And I think one of the key aspects of Web3 gaming is that the game itself, eventually through governance and through the general rules of the market, is going to be involving its community a lot more than what we see in traditional gaming. So in traditional gaming, you seldom listen to the gamers really, unless they put up a wall of contestation on some things. But otherwise, they're pretty much they're not the focus of gaming. Here, the community is really at the core of all the gamings we see. And at Blackpool, we do have those investors coming because they will be interested in a game, and they know that that game may or may not make it. It might be a really good game, could be one of the best ones, but sometimes just life is harsh, and their position might be really difficult to keep. So with Blackpool, they can get exposure to a very large area of yield-bearing NFTs. It's not actually just gaming, it's also sort of yield-bearing NFTs. So they know by being part of our community, they can invest time into one game. They can be very into a game that they've been supporting from the beginning, but they will also diversify their exposure, because at the end of the day, we are a hedge fund. So they diversify their exposure to yield-bearing NFTs in general by being part of our community. But for the games itself, the community is really at the core of it. And I'm a strong believer that community is the key for the games. The games that are going to be evolving this year are the AAA, basically, that we're all very much expecting now. The community will be what's going to really carry those games.
And can you build up on this notion of involvement? You know, what form is this going to take? So yes, you're an investor, but how much the community can be involved in the fate of the game?
Well, we've seen this with Cometh, right? Cometh was one of the first full-on blockchain game, and they've been listening to the community a lot because of the feedback, and also because as token holder, those games often have tokens. They will have a governance, or they will be, to some respect, they'll be depending on their community, because the community hold the token. They can just decide that the game just not goes the direction they want to go and just dump the token, and then the whole project is suffering from it. So as a Web3 game designer, you have to keep in mind the community, you have to keep it entertained, and you have to keep it involved so that the community drives the game towards where to keep reinventing itself, really.
And do you see people like actually voting for proposals, like with high rates? I mean, we see in DAOs that the possibility to vote exists, but very often the rate of people actually voting is kind of low. Is it any different in the gaming?
Check Avegochi, for instance. Avegochi, I don't know on top of my head. Lola would know a lot better than me, but there's been countless iterations and votes on this. And they've been building that game from the ground up, constantly listening to the community and constantly building what people wanted them to build. And the game is just as successful as it is now. I mean, we've seen a couple of really red days, right? I think Avegochi's token didn't suffer quite as much. I don't think so. And there's a really strong reason for that. It's just people that are into Avegochi are extremely connected to the game. They are really involved. And that's how you build your community. I think is one of the really good examples.
But do you see them also involved in the game development, the product development of the game, or not? Because besides the vote and giving some directions and stuff, do you see people actually contributing to the game design, game programming of the game? Because it's like one of the factors that is also very different to the like traditional world where like you spend like 3 years building a game, not interacting with anyone. But here you can like involve people like directly, concretely in the development potentially. But I don't know if it's like that much present actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's still in early stages. I mean, blockchain gaming, we have no real AAA. The most successful games are very simple. They auto-battlers. They are games like Sorare that are really easy in the concept and really easy to grasp, and they're onboarding a lot of people. But to answer your question, I think it's part of the evolution to the gaming. It's the same for every DAO. You start with a lot of the decision being taken by the core team because it needs to be sensible, right? And you need to build something. And then eventually you progressively add the community. So yeah, Avegochi is a good example that they've done little by little, but I'm sure even the AAA game will eventually have to listen to their community if they want to stay there.
Yeah. Thank you. Adrien, when you work with an artist and you build a project with them, you necessarily create a community. And so I was wondering what part of this community comes from crypto, what part comes from out of crypto, and then at the end, is it a community? And what happens for the holders of an artist token? You know, what are the mechanisms that are at play, and how do you facilitate them?
So the funny thing is that I've worked 12 years in the music industry, and we have been building communities everywhere, on Twitter, on Instagram, CRM, and here in this new world, I feel like we are actually creating real communities, and like we have been wrong since the beginning. So to answer your question, we have like measured that basically we are onboarding 50% of true fans and 50% of people who already had crypto. We don't know if they were fans before or if they jumped into the NFT project for other reasons. So we try to onboard them the best way. We know that new people in the blockchain are important, so we try to explain them, take the time for them to be ready for the drop, because they don't want, you don't want the big fan to miss a drop because they're not ready. And actually, what happened with Jacques, like the indie artist who sold his rights as NFT, is kind of a good way of how we are creating a new community. All the people, all the owners are called like les copropriétaires, co-owners. And themselves, they created this Telegram group where they're actually speaking to each other all the time. So Jacques, for example, used this new channel to announce a show. And the people like together are like, oh, it's in Paris, but I don't know where I'm going to sleep. Hey, you can sleep over. And, so you're creating a new community. So I guess within existing community, you're going to create new communities. And they are, because they share the same ownership of something, I feel they are strong communities and helping each other. And, you empower them. And they created the communities themselves. And I think that's what is cool about it. You don't need to do it.
Thank you. Luc, when Ariani started, it started with a token, the ARIA, and there's a community of these holders that you've been, taking care of and building. What did you learn? How is it to take care of a community of token holders? What is hard? What works? What did you learn over the years?
Well, I mean, I'd start really to say something is that when you're building a Web3 company, community is kind of like this new core component of your model when you're building a company, or a project in Web3. If I go kind of with the evolution of what we could call a quote-unquote business model for companies in the web, you start with Web 1, where you had like you build a software on the tech side, then you actually then find customers, so you need like a salesperson that goes sells your software. Web 2, the evolution was you build a platform, which means that you will need to build also like APIs and ways for people to connect, and then you you need users. And so that's how we actually like created this this idea of the chief growth officer. And I think Web3 actually, you're building not actually a platform of protocols, like an open source platform that people can actually use, and you're co-building it with a bunch of different people that contribute. And that's the first thing that we've built with Ariani was, the association, working with all the brands and the different tech suppliers that we work with who contribute into the technology. And then you need the community, and that's where because you don't only have people that are just users, you have people that, as Sam said earlier, they're both investors, users, and they're stakeholders. They go much beyond just using your product. Now, the learning experience, well, it's difficult. One thing I would say is don't focus solely on number go up. The price of your token, we never talk about the price of the token because it works somewhat well when it goes up, and then when you have a bear market like last night, then all hell breaks loose. So definitely don't focus on the price. I think it should be a byproduct. The most important is how do you actually engage? How do you give them some advanced information, being like here's what we're doing, and make them actually believe in the vision, and really make them a stakeholder and not just a stockholder, meaning someone that actually feels like they have a stake and they can contribute. And as you said earlier, for games, Vlad, they can actually propose new ideas and contribute.
Thank you. Vlad, how do you create a DAO from scratch, from idea to community?
Yeah, so like the first thing we need to grasp here is like, what is a DAO? So DAO is basically a community of people with an aligned mission and a bank account. So that's basically the thing. And so for us, for The Forge, it's not a DAO yet, actually, currently. It has a lot of components of what a DAO is, but it doesn't have everything. Meaning that we have a community, but we don't have a single mission that we're aligned, that we're working on right now with core contributors. And we don't have a bank account yet. So we don't have people investing in the thing. The reason why we didn't do everything that was what a DAO is yet is that we wanted to take time to make sure that we have the perfect mission and the perfect exposure to what we want to build. And we want to build products, so we want to make sure that the decentralization is kind of gradual. And so right now it's a token-gated community, so like there is this aspect of it, of the DAO. There are core contributors. We have like a group of like 10 people who help us on a like daily basis, like voting on selecting the people, on doing community tasks, etc. But there are not economic incentives yet. And so for the moment, it's not really a DAO, but it will be, obviously, and we're doing it gradually. And the thing is that what we learned in the process is that for us, when we opened the Discord, we had like 100 members in 1 week after one tweet, so it was really a high-speed growth, and we directly closed it, and it was the best decision we ever made, meaning that we had the time to really create meaningful, solid, strong relationships between the people with a core team of 100 people. And now we're scaling the thing with an invite-based system. And so I think that closing the doors from day one was a good solution. Not doing a token too early when we don't have a mission or something like really strong people who can align on is also something that I think we did well. Because too many people like launch tokens because it's quite easy to do so, launch a DAO, and then the DAO doesn't have a real purpose or a really meaning to it. And especially for us, if we want to build products and involve people in building products, we want to make sure that the decentralization is quite progressive. And so yeah, that's let's say the key components of what we want to do.
Can you talk about the concept of quests that core part of the Forge, and how you engage people by actually contributing and doing things and interacting and giving their time and their energy to the community?
Yeah, so yeah, there's two things, like there are the members and the core contributors. So the members, so you get a hammer, which is an NFT to apply to the Forge. When you're selected, you join as part of a team once per month, and then you have to do a few quests to get the second NFT, which is an anvil, and the anvil is the lifetime access. And so yeah, indeed, in order to get to the community, you need to do the quests. So of course, I need kind of to push people a bit to make sure that they complete the quests in time, but people do it with pleasure, because also if like the community is stronger, like very, very personal, let's say, membership is the community is stronger too. Like, for example, we have like paid forward quests. So you need to do an intro to someone or like suggest something for the community, like really simple stuff to do, but that can provide value for everyone. And then we have the core contributors who really help on a daily basis. And the thing is that we don't have economic incentives yet. We don't have a token. These people just work for free. Let's say it's purely volunteers right now. But they know that at some point there will be something bigger, that they'll have a share in that. But for the moment, they just really like the vibe. They want to contribute, and we have like devs who spent like 2 weeks coding 24/7 to help us putting in place the smart contracts and stuff. So really, like, let's say, high-level contributions for no economic incentives. But I think that still, at some point, we're entering a new phase in the DAO and NFT ecosystem where economic incentives are not everything, and you need to do incentive design, which is like far superior, far more social, far more valuable than just economic and having a token dump or like pump or dump, which makes a community, let's say, less stronger than other types of incentives.
Yeah, I have a question for all of you on the tools you use to manage, animate your community. You know, what are you using? What are you betting on? Where does everything happen? Is it everything Discord? Are there alternatives? I mean,
yeah,
Sam?
yeah, we're using Discord. We're actually using 2 Discords because I was talking about those different segments of the community that we have. We have the scholars. They have their own way of functioning because they need to be onboarded. We have some tools that we developed to onboard them quicker, to automate the process, to make sure we can scale and get the best out of them, and they get the best out of us because we are trying to. Well, we're building tools to give them the best assets. So sometimes it's a combination of assets. I'll take the example of Axie Infinity. We're automating breeding. We are automating the team building so that our scholars, they get given the best team that they can to perform as best as we can. And this is backed by our data analysts and so on. But you ask who we were betting on, and I think I'm going to be betting on these guys and and Speakeasy. Yeah.
Adrien, Vlad, everything on Discord, Telegram, what else?
Well, Discord is easy to use, and I think today is one of the great and powerful tools that is existing and that is creating meaningful interaction and engagement and not just likes. So today I think it's better than what we have been using, so it's already a good solution.
Yeah, it's Discord for me too. Like it's very Web2 tools. Let's say we have the website on Webflow, we have an Airtable for the form, we have a Discord, then we have Collabland, which is a bot to make sure that people have the NFTs, which gives them roles inside the forge. Like when you enter, you're an apprentice, and so you have this first role. Then if you have the anvil, you become a blacksmith, so you're a member. So Collabland is like, let's say, the most like Web3 tool that we use right now. But yeah, it's let's say it's bootstrapped with Web2 tools because like the tool, let's say, ecosystem is really really nascent in Web3 right now.
Luc, can you touch on how you are trying to build an alternative to having Web3 tools for Web3?
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, with Ariani, I mean, the thing with all of you guys that with Ariani, we started also with Discord and Telegram. It was the 2 main places where we'd have people, and then of course the problem with those tools that they're not Web3 native. You're still, dependent on a platform, and we truly believe in. I mean, actually, I know that all of you guys also, because we all talked about it several times, believe in that we need a Web3 native solution. Of course, it will take time to build it, and what we have now is actually good, but it will keep on getting better. We actually use now Speakeasy as our main outlet because drink your own champagne, eat your own dog food, however you want to name it, and it works quite well. We see what we see is an increased people feel even more of a stakeholder because they have this place where they can only access with their tokens, and that you can kind of get it with Collabland, with Discord, but at the same time it's a bit cumbersome. Here, the fact that you can actually just connect with your wallet and feel like you're really touching the Web3 that we're promising is one of the great things that we have with Speakeasy, and it's you actually can alt test Speakeasy. By the way, there is a lounge where there's over 100 of you already in there on for NFT Paris. You can come to the stand if you want us to show you, but otherwise just speakeasy.io. Yeah, so really building those tools that are Web3 native, that are truly decentralized, truly owned by the community is what we're trying to push, and we keep on pushing.
Thanks. You wanted to touch on something, Adrien?
Yeah, I wanted to mention the open community thing, like people helping each other, and actually, you don't have to give all the information when you are the creator of the project. Like people can help each other solving a problem. I think it's the new interaction. This is why I like. So maybe gated community is one way to do it, but I like the idea that a community can be open, that a couple of channels can be closed to owners of the same community. But the fact that it's open and that you can see the conversation, see if you like, see if you fit, it's like Discord is today the main KPI when you choose like which NFT project you're gonna gamble in. So they are fake communities, fake numbers, but you can see like who they are, what are they discussing, are they helping each other, are they contributing? And I feel like we needed like a new measure for engagement in social media in general, and that this is part of a good solution.
Thank you, guys. Do we have some questions? We have just a couple minutes. Do we have some questions in the room? I can't see, but if you guys see. Yeah, I see one question here. Would you mind giving them giving a mic on, please, guys?
You can do it.
Yeah, maybe you can, if you shout, Yeah, try.
Right. So if I understand that right, your question is how do we onboard scholars and how many games? Games. Right. Yes. Well, first of all, we decided the first barrier is to decide if it's not a scam, right? So we look into the game pretty deeply. We are very picky in the game we invest. We invest quite little compared to other guilds that have since we founded Blackpool that have been appearing this year. We only have right now about we have only Axie Infinity right now for scholarship, and we have probably, I'd say on top of my head, something like 4 or 5 games that are going to be coming over the next few months or over the course of the year that's going to be scholarship friendly. We also advise games. We do get in touch with the teams often as part of our process. And when we do so, we often try to push to encourage a scholarship model and to have it built inside the game to make sure that to have the best security and so on. But yeah, it's a great question. Thanks.
Thank you. I think we have another question here.
Yeah. Did you heard about Crew 3, like a tool to manage the reward of your community? You were talking about quests, and it's something where you have quests and you earn experience if you accomplish quests, and you can earn levels, and there is a leaderboard, and it's all gamified things. Like
Again, it's crew
like a crew going
free.
into space, like the crew of Thomas Pesquet, launched by Elon Musk. Crew 3.
You know Vlad?
.xyz.
Yeah, I know Matisse, so I know Crew Free. But yeah, definitely I think there will be a bunch of tools that will increase the way you can efficiently, let's say, collaborate to make sure that you know who did what in a community. And this type of tools is super interesting. Like, how do you measure who did what? How do you give them experience points? And how do you have a leaderboard? Like, for example, I also have a NFT collection, and this is like a super big need because you have so many people who want to help you with stuff. But if you have to track it like yourself, it just drives you crazy. So having a tool that keeps track of the quests and you validate the quests with like screenshots or links or whatever else is something that can help you create this leaderboard in an easier way, which is quite interesting.
One last question? No? We're good? Well, oh, yeah, we have one last question. Yeah.
Hi, it's a question for Blackpool. Have you been surprised by the uptake of P2E idle gaming, whereby people, they're interested in games, but they don't have time to play games? So an example will be anything such as Wolf Game or Crypto Raid, well, not so much Crypto Raiders, but more Wolf Game, where it's just very much idle gaming, but there is a P2E element to it.
Yeah, well, Blackpool kind of steer clear of this kind of game. We are focused on games that are built to last and built to be self-evolving all the time. So I don't really have an answer for you on this end. It's just something Blackpool is not really interested in at the moment.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Pleasure to share
Thanks
the stage
a lot.
with you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Have a very good day. Happy Saturday. Thank you.
Bye.